As Donald Trump is directing National Guard forces against Americans and threatening to send the Marines against Americans, a real international leader, President Zelenskyy, is speaking to Americans. Specifically, his audience here is really the United States Senate and the House of Representatives. And he's speaking to the international community about what's needed to actually defeat Russia. And President Zelenskyy is not mincing words about Donald Trump's despicable behavior. So here, President Zelenskyy, in this interview this morning with ABC, talks about how former President Biden was about to give Ukraine 20,000 anti-drone air defense missiles, and that this was so important to stop the Shahad drones that come from Iran and that are being used by Putin to kill innocent Ukrainians, but that Donald Trump directed those anti-drone air defense missiles to Middle East countries when Donald Trump took that trip and then got the quid pro quo 747 private jet for himself. So Donald Trump took a gold-plated jet for himself and then took 20,000 anti-drone air defense missiles away from Ukraine and put them in the Middle East, where Donald Trump is building Trump hotels and Trump properties. What a despicable piece of crap he is. Here, play this clip.
And we counted on this project. 20,000 between us, 20,000 missiles, anti-Shahid missiles. It was not expensive, but it's special technology. So we counted on these 20,000 missiles. Today in the morning, my Minister of Defense told me that the United States moved it to the Middle East.
Все, що ви сказали сьогодні, не дуже оптимістично лунало.
You know what? I know there's some of you who don't like when I do the name calling and say you're better than that. Sometimes I just have to let you know how I'm feeling at a given piece, at a given place in time, and that's just how I felt when I said that. So whatever. President Zelenskyy then posts the following: "What the Russians want is the complete destruction of life. In more than 11 years of Russia's war against Ukraine, they have brought only one new thing to our land, the most widespread Russian legacy, ruins and death. We must continue resisting this. I thank everyone around the world who is helping." And to me, that's a subtle jab at Trump. He's not helping. "The Russians are preparing to continue the war and are ignoring all peace proposals. They must be held accountable. We are working to strengthen Ukraine's air defense. We urgently need positive signals from the United States regarding air defense systems. We are still waiting for a response to our request to purchase systems that can help. I thank the European countries for supplies. We must also achieve results in joint production of air defense systems and missiles. This is absolutely essential for our whole Europe. Only time separates us from that results, and what matters most is the shortening of that time." Back to ABC. President Zelenskyy criticizes Donald Trump for comparing Russia's invasion of Ukraine and attack on innocent Ukrainians causing mass death and casualties as something that's like two boys, two kids playing around. President Zelenskyy goes, "Putin is not a boy. He's not a kid. He is an evil dictator who is trying to have a genocide of Ukraine." Here, play this clip.
Trump this week comparing it to two children fighting in a park.
Sometimes you see two young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart.
President Zelenskyy strongly refuting that notion. "We are not playing in the park with the Russians like two boys, two kids. Putin is not a kid," Zelenskyy said, describing him as a maniac. "So we can't compare, and we cannot say, okay, let them fight for a while." Zelenskyy adding, "And it's not about President Trump. Anyone living thousands of miles away can't fully understand the pain. Even parents who live in Ukraine cannot feel the pain of those who lost their children." The president telling the story of a man who lost his wife and 3 children in a missile strike, who told Zelenskyy, Every morning I'm just looking for my family. I am looking everywhere in the flat. I still feel that it was a nightmare. I go outside, I see a father who holds his little girl's hand, and the girl is just like my dead daughter. I feel physical pain. I can't do anything about it. It is limitless. That's why we are not kids at the playground, Zelenskyy says, adding, Putin is a murderer who came to the park to kill kids. It is something Zelenskyy says he has tried to convey to President Trump, but the relationship between the two has been tumultuous.
Just to remind you, when Donald Trump was in the Oval Office with Friedrich Merz this past week, Donald Trump said that really what we see here between Putin and Ukraine, it's like two young children fighting like crazy in a park. It's like two boys playing with each other. And sometimes you just got to let the boys fight. And Donald Trump, with the Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, saying there, Trump was like, that's what I told Putin during our call. That's what Putin and I discussed. Here, play this clip.
But sometimes you see two young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart. And I gave that analogy to Putin yesterday. I said, President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot because both sides are suffering.
You know what I used to carry around? One of those big, bulky leather wallets stuffed with receipts from like 5 years ago and a million of those parking garage tickets. It was falling apart, made me sit lopsided, and honestly, it was kind of embarrassing pulling it out in public. But then I found Ridge and I am obsessed. I mean, check this thing out. This thing is sleek. It holds up to 12 cards plus cash, which I like to put in this little strap right over here in the back. And it's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, even carbon fiber. You've got over 50 colors and styles to choose from. And yeah, I like to show mine off all the time. It's just that nice. And get this, Ridge wallets are RFID blocking, so you don't have to worry about digital pickpocketers. Total peace of mind. Plus they come with a lifetime warranty. It's literally the last wallet you will ever need. Oh yeah, and if you're ever someone who misplaces their stuff, you could get an AirTag attachment so you could track it down instantly. I mean, losing your wallet sucks, but Ridge has that figured out too. I took mine on the road with me when I traveled recently, and it was such an improvement from carrying around a bulky wallet. And right now, Ridge is having a huge Father's Day sale. Get up to 40% off when you order at ridge.com/Meidas. Again, that's ridge.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. When you check out, let them know we sent you to support the show. Whether it's for dad or for yourself, give the upgrade that lasts a lifetime.
And again, it's just so utterly embarrassing and humiliating to have this utter fool Donald Trump in the Oval Office. I mean, the worst leader, the worst human being to ever be in the White House. Forget being a leader. And I'm describing everybody who's probably stepped foot in the White House. Here, Donald Trump says, this is what Putin told him about Ukraine's drone strike. Strategic strike on Russia's Air Force capabilities, degrading about 30 to 35% of Russia's strategic Air Force fleet. 41 airplanes were destroyed. And then Donald Trump said, well, Putin says it's not going to be pretty. We're going to have to attack Ukraine pretty hard now. Here, play this clip.
Some additional fighting that's going to go on. You know, he attacked and they attacked pretty harshly. They went deep into Russia. And he actually told me, I mean, I made it very clear. He said, we have no choice but to attack based on that. And it's probably not going to be pretty.
So then Zelensky's asked this question. Do you think that Trump believes that Russia is winning the war? And Zelenskyy says, yeah, I know that. That's definitely what Trump believes. He says it all the time. He goes, it's not true, but Trump is under Putin's spell. Listen to what Zelenskyy says here. Play this clip.
Does President Trump believe that Russia is winning this war, do you think?
Yes.
Has he told you that?
I think he's publicly said about it, and I know that he shared this information with some people around him, and I think this operation, and I said it a lot of times, it's not true. It's not a victory when you really spend 1 million people.
What? I thought this was a powerful part of the interview where Zelenskyy says, just trust me. We understand the Russians better than Americans. We understand them better than Trump. We know what they're doing. Trust us. We've been the ones fighting there. We're the ones who he invaded. We know their mentality. They are bad. They are evil people. They just want death, destruction, and ruin. Stop with the both sides crap. Here's President Zelenskyy in his own words. Play this clip.
President Trump told our Terry Moran in an interview, a recent interview, that he does believe Putin wants peace. You think he's wrong? With all due respect to President Trump, Zelenskyy says, I think it's just his personal opinion. Trust me, we understand the Russians much better, the mentality of the Russians, than the Americans understand the Russians. I know for sure Putin doesn't want to stop the war.
Now, here was President Zelenskyy reflecting on what went down in the Oval Office when Donald Trump started attacking Zelenskyy and saying, you don't hold the cards, you don't hold the cards. That was Trump's plan. Bully Zelenskyy into surrender. That was Trump's plan. Then Trump was going to steal the minerals from Ukraine in a mineral deal, just grab them all, and then give Putin the other parts of Ukraine. And that was Trump's idea. Basically, the U.S. and Russia split Ukraine as two hegemonic powers. And Trump was then going to do business deals with Putin and Russia. That was Trump's plan. But Zelenskyy stood up for himself and stood up for his country. And Zelenskyy stood up for the free world. Here, play this clip.
In February, that Oval Office visit spiraling out of control.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
We all saw that Oval Office chaotic, disastrous meeting. I know after that meeting, you tried to repair that relationship. Tell us what it was like in the aftermath.
Це дуже складно. Я тому, як мені почувалось.
It's quite complicated, Zelenskyy said. You could watch it live and it was very clear and very straightforward. I used to remind everyone cameras don't lie. Everybody could see on their television screens. I think the result of that meeting, I was very honest and open when I said that a small country is fighting for its life against the giant with all that evil that they brought with their army and their weapons to our land. 631 children lost their lives, he said. For some, those are numbers. But for me, he said, it's important that I defend my position. And I was trying to do that in the Oval Office.
Now, here Zelenskyy tells ABC this week that his country is ready for a ceasefire, and they've always been ready. He said, we've agreed to an unconditional ceasefire. Putin has not. Play this clip.
Does President Trump believe that Russia is winning this war, do you think?
Yes.
Has he told you that?
I think he's publicly said about it, and I know that he shared this information with some people around him, and I think this separation, and I said it a lot of times, it's not true. It's not a victory when you really spend 1 million people.
What Zelenskyy wants is more pressure on Putin, much stronger sanctions, which Trump has threatened but hasn't put in place.
Починаючи від санкцій,
I am convinced that the President of the United States has all the powers and enough leverage, he said, to unite European leaders, adding, they are all looking at President Trump as a leader for the free world, a free democratic world, and they are waiting for him, so he has to do it. He must. We also asked President Zelenskyy about military aid from the U.S., which could be ending. He said without it, there is a greater chance Russia will win and Ukraine will suffer much more loss of life, much more. And yet, he has not given up hope. Ceasefire talks, which have gotten nowhere so far, are scheduled to resume Monday.
What's Donald Trump too busy doing? I mean, he was at a UFC fight last night. And if you zoom in, many suspect that he was indeed wearing a catheter last night as well. I've seen lots of speculations about that. And so we're unsure even about, what his health condition is. And just look at this guy, though. I mean, this is what he's spending time doing as he's declaring martial law. Not martial law, but as he wants to declare martial law, but as he's sending the National Guard against Americans, as he's activating the Marines again, potentially activating Marines against Americans. I should say moving towards what he wants to do, which is martial law. Despicable stuff. Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
New Midas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.